Sugar. Welcome everyone to today's E3 session. Today we have with us Dr. Megan Wipfli. She's a director of the first year non-traditional student engagement, and she's going to talk to us about how we can help that sector of our student body. So take it away.
Thank you. So for anybody who's been here for a longer period of time, this is the new office that was created in Student Affairs for non-traditional students, and our previous name, the June Anderson Center for Women and Non-Traditional Students. Obviously, through some of the legislation, we did have to change that. So now we are going by first year in non-traditional student engagement, or I call it FENCE. So my newsletter is called the FENCE Post. So this is Non-Traditional Student Week. So every year, the first full week of November is Non-Traditional Student Week. This year it is November 3rd through 7th. We have a ton of different events going on this week, and I'll tell people a little bit more about them towards the end. So what is a non-traditional student? This is a question I get, especially at preview days or orientation sessions, all of that, all the time. But a non-traditional student is anybody who's turning 25 this school year and older, or anybody who's married, widowed, divorced, no matter what age, anyone who's a parent or caregiver, no matter what age, anyone who's current or former military, either active or veteran status, no matter what age, anyone, and this one's kind of a stickier one, anyone who works full-time and attends school at least part-time, and that's no age restriction as well. And so one of the things about that is also that question of what is full-time work? Is that 30 hours with the ACA, as long as we may or may not have the Affordable Care Act or not? Does a person have 3 part-time jobs that kind of equal full-time? We will accept any of those in our office. Nationally, there are several other classifications that may be used. MTSU doesn't have them in their kind of their classifications, but I will accept anybody, and that's somebody who was a previous foster care youth, anyone who's unhoused, anyone who's emancipated from their parents or family, and then anybody who is a GED earner. So they went back and got their GED instead of graduating high school. And all of those are also considered FAFSA classifications for when they're filling out their FAFSA. So this is kind of small and hard to see, but this is the 25 and older student enrollment in fall of 2025. And I've got it circled here that we had 3,906, so 3,906 MTSU people who were considered 25 and older that were enrolled in school. And so if you've ever seen the dashboard before, you can click down here to the 25 plus status, and it will give you all of that information. And you can see here the 10 largest majors by enrollment: business, integrated studies, so on and so forth. It will break it down into some other classifications as well. But I really like these dashboards because you can quickly pull up. Now, this was fall of 2025, so this was this year. You can go back in years past, and you'll see a slide that I have some years past in some of these as well. I also could find the veteran student enrollment for this year. Obviously, we can't find parent or caregiver, working part-time, all of that. Those are protected classes, but the veterans as well. We had almost 700 veteran students. Woo, I didn't realize it was touchscreen this year. So between the two known, we have about 4,600 non-traditional students. Like I said, that doesn't include our part-time employees, full-time, or part-time students, full-time employees, parents or caregivers, any of those other statuses other than veteran and 25 and older. So we may have way more than that. I know that several years ago when I asked the financial aid office for how many parenting students we had about 1,600, but those were only of the people who filled out FAFSA. And so we know not every student fills out FAFSA, so we're not generating some of that data that we'd like to see. So 25 and older persistence fall to spring. So how many of them kept going to school from fall or spring of last year to fall of this year? Or sorry, fall of last year to spring of last school year. 87% of our 25 and older students continue on, or at least they did that fall to spring. And you can see again down at the bottom, The majors, library studies, 100, or literacy studies, 100% of those students stayed on, so on and so forth. Same thing, the veteran persistence, it sits about 88%. So our veterans are staying from fall to spring last school year at about 88% rate. This is really great for us. This means that we are keeping our students, they are continuing on here, which may mean that we're giving them the support that they need for the majority of our students. I did look up the degrees awarded in 2015 to present. So these are the 25 and older. And we kind of see a dip, and we see a dip obviously in the COVID era, a little bit higher, a little bit lower. You know, obviously money's going to be a factor as well. The question that is always raised with this is it's really hard to know if these were 4-year, 6-year, or 8-year graduate enrollees, because so many non-traditional students do take more than 4 years to graduate. So we aren't sure, you know, when some of these that graduated more recently may have started. We have some students who've been here for 6, 8, 10 years, taking one class at a time, especially too if their employer's paying for it. Same thing with the veterans, the year-over-year awarded degrees. And again, our veterans may take longer than our traditional students as well, especially if any of them have any active deployments at that time. So national data. About 73% of undergraduates actually have one or more non-traditional student characteristic. About 40% of today's college students are older than the age of 22, which we consider 18 to 22, 18 to 23 to be those traditionally aged years. Almost 70% of students in general are holding down a job while in college at some point in time. 40% of college students are enrolled in part-time. So we think about that dynamic. If 60% of our students are full-time and 40% of our students are only part-time, what does that mean for us? And then almost 20% of college students have children. Again, this is a known number. It could be way higher than that because some schools like us that's not a data set we collect. We don't know how many of our students actually have children. And of course, I listed my citations there in case anybody's interested. So andragogy, for anybody who doesn't know what that is, it's different than pedagogy. Andragogy is the assumptions made about the adult learners. So for adult learners, there are 5, there were 4, but it was updated in 1984 from the things that they learn. So students have a self-concept. So as a person matures, as they get older, their self-concept moves from being more of a dependent personality on their family, on their friends, to being a little bit more self-directed. Adult learner experiences also too, as a person matures, they accumulate experience that become that resource for learning. If anybody's had non-traditional students in their class, they may hear their non-traditional students talk more about those life experience that they've had compared to the traditional age students that they had. Their readiness to learn as a person matures, their readiness to learn aligns with their social roles. Maybe their readiness to learn is because they want their children or their family members to see them go to college versus that's not as important as a traditional student may find. Orientation to learning, as a person matures, their perspective changes from one of understanding to one of application. We may see our non-traditional students apply much more of the things that they learn personally in their lives, in their jobs that they have outside of this than we might see for a traditional age student. And we might still see that with a traditional age student. This is just different pedagogy versus andragogy. And then their motivation to learn. As somebody matures, the motivation to learn may be more internal. You know, they may want that degree, whereas they never wanted that before. Quite often we'll see traditionally aged students say, my parents want me to go to college, my family wants me to go to college, as compared to a non-traditional student, I want to go to college. So some of the previous assumptions that led to those 4 principles: adults need to be involved in the planning and evaluation of their own instruction. That's really important to them. It's more in line with that concept of who they are and what they need to know. Their experience, including their mistakes, can provide the basis for learning activities. We always say, let somebody fail, they'll learn from that failure. It's especially true for our non-traditional students. Adults are most interested in learning subjects that have immediate relevance or impact on their lives. So we may see, I'm not a science person, You're definitely gonna not see me be like, yeah, let's do science, because that has absolutely no impact on my life. But you will see me, you know, really anything history, anything writing or reading or anything, because those are things that do connect to the things that I'm doing. And then adult learning is really problem-centered versus content-oriented. So a lot of times in our classrooms and with our non-traditional students, we'll see them wanting to learn to solve a problem versus wanting to learn just to learn. And again, we might still, these are just, you know, the generalizations of andragogy. So what does this mean? This definitely means that non-traditional students learn differently than our traditionally aged students. It means they may have been out of the classroom for a long period of time. We have students who haven't been in class since before computers. And that sounds crazy because it was a long time, but I mean, I didn't have internet until middle school and high school. So anybody older than me, you know, that's you know, something that we have to worry about is they don't have the same skills that some of the younger students have. They don't know the software that some of our students have. And so having been out of the classroom for long periods of time, not only is the technology a barrier for them, the study skills are no longer there, and some of the information that they may have kept had they continued on with school maybe just isn't still there. Non-trads may feel a lack of motivation or definitely feelings of self-doubt. Every day, every week in my office, I have people who come to me and they're like, I don't think I can do this. And so we sit down and we talk, why don't you think you can do it? Is it just self-doubt? Is it lack of motivation? Or is there some other barrier there that we can help you with? And when I say we, I mean me, because I'm an office of one. And then non-traditional students will be balancing those outside responsibilities. Like we said, 70% of college students have at least one or more non-traditional student characteristic. So even if we don't know, our traditional age students may be working 30, 40, 50 hours a week. They may be taking care of a parent, a sibling. They may have a spouse or a significant other. They may be homeless and we don't know it. So there's a lot of other things that they're juggling outside of sitting down and studying or being in a classroom at one time. So how you can help. The thing that we can do as professionals is create study skill courses that might help these majority learners. I know that I often refer people to the Linebaugh Library for some of their computer classes because we don't have anything that rudimentary here on campus for those people who've maybe been out of school and without technology for years. Using online learning to increase flexibility and accessibility, MTSU has been great about this, especially since COVID, but we still see students that are like, this class is not taught online anywhere. I have to come to campus for this class. So maybe allowing for that flexibility. Developing specific programs in areas such as financial aid, advising, and campus support. That's a lot of what I do. I also work really closely with financial aid to do a lot of their information workshops, and I work really closely with our outreach specialist over in the One Stop for our students who are homeless, foster students, who have less food and food insecurities, and any other things. I think they have some emergency funding and stuff over there too for anybody who needs that emergency money. Creating a sense of community, networks of support, and a safe space for students to share their challenges, seek advice, and build relationships that contribute to their overall well-being. This is something else I do too, and I'll talk a little bit more about some of my events that I do. But ever since I started this job in January of 2020, when we could get together, because obviously COVID, I've done a non-traditional student-only coffee hour. And our non-traditional students really appreciate that, because then they're with like-minded individuals who are going through some of the same things they're talking about. I've had them talk about their child's educational plans before, and oh, hey, you should see this specialist type of a thing. I've had them talk about rental, apartment rentals and how to get car loans and all this kind of stuff. So it's something that's just a little bit different than the traditional 18 to 22-year-old may talk about in some of those types of environments. So another thing we can do is use our students' work experiences as a part of their coursework, maybe add that into some discussions and talk to them about how it pertains to their learning and how those two things intersect. If they, like andragogy implies, if they can see how what they're learning in the classroom is intersecting with what they're doing in their lives, I think they're more apt to understand it and they're more apt to gravitate towards it. We could consider changing teaching methods for those students who may have been out of the class for long periods of time. Again, offering those online options, offering extra study sessions, and really just giving them the opportunity to still participate in class, but maybe it's not as rigid as it might need to be. Consider flexible options for office hours, either from professors or any teaching assistants. I know that at one point in time, especially during COVID, we had online office hours in my office and people could, hop on a Zoom. I know it works really well over in the one stop for the virtual counter. Maybe instead of it being from here, you Zoom 6 to 7 o'clock at night one night. The one thing that it's not gonna work if everywhere on campus doesn't do it, so that we know the MT one stop is open till 6 on Mondays, and my office is open till 6 on Mondays, and the bursar's office, and so on and so forth. So if that's ever something we wanna do, we do all need to kind of get together and make sure that we're all cohesive in what we're doing in the timeline. Encouraging students to find a community of other students. Again, this is something I do in my office. And I think I talk about it later in my slides, but we also have a student organization. We used to have the non-traditional student organization and the transfer student organization. Obviously, student organizations since COVID floundered a little bit. So we've actually reorganized, combined the two, and brought back an old MTSU student organization that used to be called OWLs, and now it's called OWLETs. So older, wiser learners, educators, and transfer students and staff. And so anybody can be a part of it, and especially those who want to help and assist our non-traditional students. The last thing is to be upfront about what is and what is not flexible. I am not asking or suggesting that anybody give free passes to our non-traditional students, but there may be the ability to allow an extra day's grace period on assignments, or doing one discussion post instead of 2, or so on and so forth. So don't give free passes, but do understand that there is a difference between a traditional student and a non-traditional student and their abilities to do the amount of work that we may be giving our traditional age student who don't have all of these outside responsibilities. So my office, again, the first year in non-traditional student engagement, I am located within the Center for Student Involvement and Leadership, which is on the 3rd floor of the Student Union in room 330. So when you get off the elevator, if you go around the corner, it's the big glass open area, and I'm the first office past the front door. So I am there 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. After hours events or services may be available by request. Our office provides student support to all students on campus surrounding non-traditional and transfer student topics, as well as topics and engagements for all new to MTSU students. So when I email students, I email all new freshmen, all new transfers, all veteran students, and all 25 and older, turning 25 this school year and older students. Okay. So we have annual scholarships for non-traditional students. We also have one elementary education scholarship. I actually this year am giving away $150,000 in my non-traditional student scholarships. So definitely have your folks fill out the MTSU scholarship manager and fill out the supplemental pages, because that's where all of my stuff is. And if you want to take a look on my website, it has all the criteria for our scholarships. Again, the student organizations, older, wiser learners, educators, transfer students, and staff, otherwise known as OWLETs. Our page is empty right now since we are still reforming. But if anybody has questions, they can email me about what I must have put timers on and didn't realize it. Anybody wants more information on OWLETs, they can email me. Our events are open to all students. I do ask that the non-traditional student coffee hour is just non-traditional students, but otherwise everything else is open to everybody else. I have off-campus housing information, partnering with a third-party website through the Rent College Pads affiliate. 2 weeks ago, I just had the off-campus housing fair, and I'll be doing another one in March for students to get to know local property companies. So the types of programming that I have. So today is actually our first year fuel up day. So any new student can come to the office between 2 and 4. I'll have coffee, I'll have snacks. And so it is the first Tuesday of every month during the academic year, so this will be our last one until February. Tomorrow, I have the same thing, but just for non-traditional students, so 2 to 4 in our office, and that's the first Wednesday of every month. This week is Thankful Thursday, so it is our pre-Thanksgiving food drive, so students can come and pick up bags of pre-made Thanksgiving sides and everything. So we've got stuffing, mashed potatoes, gravy, corn, beans, cream of soups. We have packets of cookie mix and brownie mix and all that kind of stuff for people to take home. It is all the non-perishables, but students can pick that up between 11 and 1 on Thursday. Or our friends over at the University College have offered to do a drive-through pickup on Thursday from 4:30 to 6:30, but people do need to email me if they want that drive-through pickup so that I know how many bags to send over to University College. And then also, and I see it didn't bold there, but my scholarships session on Friday, which is a scholarship info session and dirty soda bar. So that's Friday from 2 to 4. People can bring their laptops and fill out the MTSU scholarships there. We'll have a couple of computers ourselves in the office, but then that is also family weekend. And so any MTSU student and their families who are around that day, they can feel free to come get some information, or they can just come for our soda bar. Also, anybody else can just come for my soda bar too. Like I said, I also have the off-campus housing fair. Right now, I'm saving March 18th for that date. Time still be determined. I do a How I Met Your Cover novel swap. It is dates and times to be determined for spring. I just had one a couple weeks ago. I do a monthly crafter noon, so you learn how to make a project creative wellness event. So this year so far we did cross stitch and string art, Mod Podge. We do have rag wreaths in 2 weeks on November 18th and 19th. And then to be announced, but we are gonna probably do macrame, a board and brush painting, and a succulent plant in a mug in April. So some appointment information while I am in the office from 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Students, faculty, and staff should schedule appointments with me so that I can devote enough time and attention to them without being disturbed with events or other meetings. Like I said, I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, getting all sorts of food for the food drive today, so I was not in my office a whole lot. Walk-ins are welcome, but I can't guarantee availability. Our office website is open 24/7. Which includes all information, scholarships, housing information, and all of our events. So here's my contact info. So you can email me at megan.wipfli@mtsu.edu. You can email me at fence@mtsu.edu, so FYNSE. And then 5812 is our office number, and 2193 is my direct line. And that is all I have. For anybody who's interested, I did bring some swag. I brought mini measuring tapes. They were in the old office, so I put all of the new labels on several hundred of these. So spent a lot of time doing that, but yeah.
Thank you very much. If there's anyone in the Zoom room that has a question, you can put it in the chat and they will be addressed accordingly. Graduate students, okay.
Yep, graduate students are considered non-traditional.
Right.
Yep, age. Yep, so anybody 25 and older. The only thing is for our scholarships, the 2 large scholarships we have are for your first bachelor's. So they wouldn't work for graduate students.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions in the chat? Or in the room?
Or in the room.
Dr. Wipfli, thank you for being with us today. Thank you for joining us in the Zoom room. Thank you for sharing more about how we can know how to better support our students, in this case, our non-traditional students, and we appreciate your time. So thank you, Dr. Wipfli. Thanks, everybody in the Zoom room.
Bye.